My name is Mike Abernethy. As I mentioned earlier, I'm the Director of Safety here at Central. First off, Chuck, I want to thank you for trusting us with your conference. And man, we love doing this. I love seeing this many church security-minded folks in one room. This is just awesome. Also, if we have any of our sponsors in the room, really want to thank our sponsors for this. A lot of these sponsors we use. So Push Pulse and Concilium, North American Rescue's medical products like Right to Bear. We use a lot of these sponsors. That's why I approached them personally and said, hey, will y'all come and sponsor this? My goal today is really, I'm going to give you just kind of a quick talk about something that God's laid on my heart regarding church safety. And then I'm going to open it up to some questions. I know some of my team members, and I fielded some questions from y'all, and so I know y'all have a lot of questions about how we do things here at Central. Also, I want to thank my security team, my safety team. Some of them are in the back, some of them are on duty, but they've been keeping us safe here this whole day. And a lot of y'all probably heard about our conference through members of my safety team. They are incredible, and we are one big happy family, and I love my team, man, and I couldn't have done any of this without y'all. So thank y'all very much, and please pass it on to everybody else. I know y'all get your radios on, say, hey, Mike says thanks. I'm not buying drinks later though, sorry. We're Baptists, so we can, you know. Anyways, Colonel Lynn, man, I'll show that to him later. Just some quick background on me. I'm married, 3 kids, 8-year veteran in the Coast Guard. I was in the Coast Guard's DSF community at MSST San Francisco. Coast Guard kind of has 2 houses in their DSF capability. That you've got counter-drug and you have counter-terrorism. I was on the counter-terrorism side, so I went to Iraq in 2009. My team was also the national GO team when the earthquake happened in Haiti. So we were some of the first boots on the ground for Operation Unified Response. Also worked at the El Paso Intelligence Center doing counter-drug intel. So I got to work with a whole bunch of 3-letter agencies. Some of them don't like to be talked about. That was a really cool experience, getting to see some of that, getting to see some of the cartel stuff going on. And literally working across the street from some of that stuff going on. At the time, I could drive through El Paso on I-10 and show you sites where cartel hits happen. 2013, I became a firefighter. Went to the dark side. I was in federal law enforcement and then became a firefighter. I worked for the 13th largest fire department in the country. Spent 8 years working in the hood at the busiest station in the city. I worked the 2015 floods here in Texas, worked COVID, worked Snowmageddon, worked for 74 hours straight in Snowmageddon with 2 hours of sleep and 1 can of Chef Boyardee in my stomach. That was a lot of fun in Icemageddon. And then 3 years ago, Central brought me on as a security director. And so here I am. This has just been a 20-year journey that God has had me on. Like I mentioned earlier, my goal was to be a helicopter pilot in the Coast Guard. And God had other plans. God said, nope, you're gonna go do this. You're gonna learn how to put holes in bad guys, and then you're gonna become a firefighter later on and learn how to patch up holes in good guys. And then stuff's gonna happen with churches, and your church is gonna need you. And that's why I'm here. So I thank God every day for everything that He's done for me, all the experiences that He's given me, good and bad. You know, because James 1 says we learn through hard times, right? We get better, we get made perfect in hard times. And I am on this journey for God to make me perfect, and still on that journey. Got a long ways to go. This is my contact information. If you guys ever have any questions about how we do things here at Central, any training questions, anything like that, please feel free to give me a call. The 05 Safety Training email address. Some of the veterans on my team and first responders on my team, we're actually putting together a nonprofit that provides low and no cost training to small and mid-sized churches. A lot of the tactical instructors out there and medical instructors, they charge an arm and a leg. It's not cost effective for small and mid-range churches to be able to pay for these guys to come in. So a lot of smaller and mid-range churches that I've talked to just don't do any training because they can't afford it and they don't have the experts on their team. We're very fortunate with our team to have a number of combat veterans and first responders that have been there and done that with a lot of this stuff. So we all got together and decided, hey, This is our calling. Let's go do this. So if you guys want training, email me at that one. And man, we love coming out and training. We love coming out and working with churches and sharing some of the stuff that we've learned the hard way, so y'all don't have to. All right? Quick disclaimer, always got to be one. Nothing in this presentation reflects my license or status as an EMT or TCFP. So I have to put that out there. Long story, but nothing I'm saying here reflects my status or license as a EMT or as a Texas Commission on Fire Protection. Central Safety Team, where we started. We started shortly after the Sutherland Springs shooting. Our church, like many churches, had that mentality of this small town Texas, medium town Texas, it won't happen here. We're not a mega church, we're not a target, it'll never happen here. And then boom, Sutherland Springs happened in November of 2017. We had an APD officer in our congregation that went to our church leadership and said, hey, we need something. We need to do something, let me start it up. And so our church leadership said, sure, go for it. And so he basically put an announcement out, hey, anybody with an LTC, we're starting this team, come and join. So when we first started out, we were a bunch of John Wick for Jesus wannabes that had our LTCs and just figured that we're going to stand by doors and bust a cap in Johnny Jihad if he starts coming our way. There was very little focus on any other training other than responses to active attack events. So lots and lots of range training, which was lots and lots of fun, but we also had a lot of people that would show up to range day training and never volunteered to actually serve on Sundays. So that's how we started. Not a whole lot of organization, just a group of folks that liked to go shooting and wanted to protect our church. Fast forward to about 4 years ago, and our church leadership started looking at our safety team and saying, hey, there's something here. They saw the group of folks that we had on our team, and they're like, man, there's some possibilities here. There's room for something here. Let's start organizing this. Let's start turning it in. Let's be a little more ministry focused. And so, that was around the COVID time, so things were kind of weird with COVID. 3 years ago, the church approached me because I had been a part of the team since the beginning. I had helped with a lot of the training, and they said, hey, you've got a lot of experience in response and security. Would you like to head our team? And I was like, sure, give it a shot. And so here we are now, 2025. We've got, actually, I need to update that. We have 25 team members now. I've got a couple of trainees. We have 9 gatekeepers with gatekeepers. And we're much more organized. We have an entire qualification process. We have a lot more consistent involvement. We have both armed and armed responders. And part of the beauty of our security setup is you don't really know who is who. So if anybody comes into our church, they're going to see that we have a security presence, but they don't know who's armed and who's not. And there's some beauty in that. I have 2 team members that are leading weekly Bible studies. Dylan, right there in the back, a weekly Bible study for some young men on Friday. That's awesome. I got another teammate of ours. Him and his wife are out of town right now, but they lead a Bible study for their motorcycle club. And so now we've got some of their motorcycle club now coming to our church and also being a part of our team. And so we're a lot more ministry focused than let's go put holes in bad guys mentality. And then our families get involved. Those of y'all that trained on the simulator, we'll have our families over to play shooting games. You did the marksmanship games at the beginning. Our kids get to play duck hunt on steroids and have pizza. So we get our families involved. So it's we have a lot of fun. We're one big happy family. Kind of our mentality is once you're safety team, you're always safety team. And we literally will take a bullet for each other. We're very, very tight and we love each other, and I think that's how it should be with a safety team. I kind of talked about this, but one thing I want to ask real quick, I want to take a quick survey of the room. Do I have any church leaders in here? Pastors, elders, deacons, like decision makers? How many? All right, got a handful. What about safety team leaders, directors? Cool. Everybody else, safety team members? Awesome. And so for my church leaders, a lot of this is going to be geared towards you. And because I think in the church safety world right now, in how we started, there is still a lot of focus on security, security, security. All right, we want our church to be secure, or there's still churches that basically their mentality is, you guys got your LTCs, go play pew-pew and leave us alone. The key thing about having any type of church security team or church ministry, where's your heart at, right? What type of security do you have? How many of y'all have, you hire police officers, off-duty police officers, okay? Does your church hire these off-duty police officers? What's the heart behind that? Are you hiring because you want to reduce your church's liability? Or are you hiring because you want to get these police officers a foot in the door in your church and exposed to your church so they can hear the gospel by osmosis? Right? Like anything we do, it's the heart that matters. Right? So if we're doing security stuff, if we're setting up a safety team to reduce liability for the church, or to shut up our LTC people so they'll stop complaining about security and we'll just let them go play pew-pew. Right? Is that the right heart to be having this? Or do we have a heart for ministry? Right? I think there is a lot of value in safety teams if we approach it as a ministry. And so that's something that I love our church for doing, is they have looked at our church safety team and they say that is a ministry. We changed our logo from safety team to safety ministry. They give us funding like any other ministry. So we're no different than the youth, we're no different than the kids, than the worship team, anything like that. And that's how our church treats us. And we have seen a lot of that, not just from a security perspective, but from an outreach and from an internal ministry perspective. And so I want you as church leaders to start thinking about like, hey, why don't we look at this as a ministry? So our church leadership decided, all right, we're going to organize, we're going to train, we're going to invest. We're going to invest in this group of people just like any other ministry. And so I use this illustration because that truly is leading from the front. And it's our pastor that did that. Our pastor brought that mentality and said, all right, we're going to make one of the core values of this church safe places. One of our core values here is that we provide a physically, emotionally, and spiritually safe place for people to come and worship and hear the gospel. And so they put their money where their mouth is for that physical safety, and that's why our safety team is the ministry that it is. If you're going to build a safety team, or like any ministry, right, you need a leader. You need some type of leadership that's going to take the reins, and they're going to lead the team. All right, a couple of traits to look for in a leader, like you would for any ministry, right? Like you want spiritual maturity, okay? You want a heart and a track record of service. Humility is a plus. It's not a plus, it's a must. All right, in the world of skills that can determine the difference between life and death, there is zero room for ego. Zero room for ego. One of my closest friends on the team, veteran on the team, I'm looking right at you, Grant, sorry buddy. He will tell you all day long that ego kills. If you think you know it all, you're going to be the first one to go because I guarantee you somebody knows better. So look for a leader that's humble, that's always looking to get better, always looking to make the team better. Because again, nobody knows it all. Experience is a plus, but it's not required. All right, I've worked with a lot of churches around here, and there's a lot of safety directors that have zero military, but they have awesome teams. And that's because they view it as a ministry also, and they love that team, and they put their heart into that team because their heart is to protect the church. Right? That's their mission. That's what God has put on their heart, so they approach it as their calling. They don't have to have the experience. Once you have leadership, we got to start doing some organization, right? That's where the liability stuff comes in. We need to have something that says this is how your team's going to be set up, this is how you're going to operate. There needs to be some paperwork involved, so if the worst happens and the lawyers come knocking, we need to be prepared for that. All right. Texas in 2023 passed Senate Bill 692 or 694. I'm blanking right now. but it basically said that churches and their volunteer security members are protected against civil and criminal liability if the church members or the volunteer are acting in accordance with their duties and responsibilities as a volunteer church security member. Well, there's some gray area there, right? What are those duties and responsibilities? That's a document that your church needs to define. Okay, so if you haven't written from your church to your team members a duties and responsibilities agreement that says Central Baptist Round Rock is commissioning you, Mike Abernethy, to do the following. That's very, very important, because at the end of the day, when the lawyer says, well, who said you could do that? The church commissioned me to do that. And that's in accordance with that Texas Senate bill. You need to have written emergency response protocols, not just for your team, church-wide. All right, it does your church no good if you have 4 team members on duty and you have a 100-member church and only those 4 people know what they're doing. All right, so have emergency protocols that your whole church, all your volunteers, all your staff are aware of. For your team, there needs to be some training and qualification requirements. All right, I know that can be tough, but it's good because again, that liability, you can point and say, this person, we received this training. We received this amount of training, this many hours of training in these subjects. A lot of this organization stuff that I've done for our team, I've picked and chosen and borrowed from SOPs and things like that from the military, from my time in the fire service, because those are all kind of tried and true methods of documenting things, and so I've borrowed from that for our team. Again, if you want any copies of that, shoot me an email. I'll send our stuff your way. A couple of months ago, I went to Colonel Grossman's Bulletproof House of Worship Conference. One of his speakers was Ken Alexandro, who's the president of Agape Tactical. He said this, and I love it. 2 words in the English language that cannot go together in the same sentence, and that sentence makes sense, are security and convenience. How many of y'all have faced challenges with locking doors or security protocols because it's inconvenient? All right, this is something, especially my church leaders in here, take this to heart, because if your security team leader is coming up to you and saying, hey, we need to do X, Y, and Z, there's a fine line between being convenient and being secure. And as churches, we're not supposed to be Fort Knox, right? We're supposed to welcome hurting people. We are supposed to be the place where people come to us to receive the gospel. So should we look like the Secret Service out there with our tactical glasses, standing there with an RBF thing going, like, don't come in here? No, we need to be welcoming of people. And the same thing, yes, we can secure doors, but we need to have people at those doors ready to welcome people in at the same time. There's a fine line. We can strike that balance, but we got to get creative, right? Like any ministry, you need to invest in it. This is another beef I've had with some churches that I've worked with in the past. Is again, they have a church safety team, but when I ask them, well, what's your budget for your church safety team? Oh, we don't have a budget. Well, why not? Why don't you have a budget? Why aren't you invest? How much money do you spend on missions? How much money do you spend on youth? How much money do you spend on your worship team? Why don't you spend money on security? Not just your security people, but the physical security of your campus, right? What about cameras? Magnetic door locks? What about that window film that Colonel Grossman was talking about? Those are physical security investments that make your church safer, right? But more than that, why don't we invest in our people? All right, this is nothing against police officers, nothing at all. But I'm a huge proponent of sticking with your team, building your team and not hiring off-duty police officers, okay? One, when you hire off-duty police officers, you don't know what you're gonna get. All right, you might get Tactical Timmy, that's awesome. All right, you might get the guy that's the bottom of the barrel signing up for overtime to collect a paycheck. Okay, you don't know what you're gonna get. But with the people within your church, you know what you're getting. You vetted them, hopefully, but also you know that this person, their family goes here, their friends go here. They're going to protect their people with their lives because it's their people, right? My church, that's my home. They're my people. I will gladly, quickly, willingly take a bullet for any person in my church, because that's my family. Those are also the same people that are ministering to my wife and kids. And I want to make that possible, right, by securing them. And so invest in your people. I put this meme up there. I might tick a few people off, but my team knows I tend to not cut corners and I tend to talk directly, so here it goes. If you have a group of people that have basically said, I will lay my life down on the line for this church. Jesus said, no greater love than this, right? Than he who lays down his life for his friends. If you have a group of people that have said, I will lay down my life for this church, and you're not investing in them, you're no different than any of these cities that defunded their police. I know that's a hard truth, but when these cities defunded their police and took away their training and took away their personnel and things like that, they made their communities less safer. If you're not investing in your church and your people in your church is not going to be safer, right? So invest in your people. And again, there is ministry value in investing in your people, right? They will go harder in the paint for your church when you're helping them out. But our church buys our team training ammunition, right? We have a qualification test for our members that want to be armed. We buy their qualification ammo. All right, we pay for some of our people to get instructor certified, so now we have our own instructors, right? We pay for CPR, stop the bleed, things like that. Invest in your people. Those are skill sets not only that help them, that help the church, that helps them, that invested them to be able to go and secure their own family and protect their own family, right? And then that's more people, that's generational. Hey, this church invested in my mom and my dad, right? Maybe they'll invest in me in the future. Once we have these procedures in place, we have the investment, now we need the people, right? These are reasons why a lot of people join the safety team. They want to protect their friends and families. All right, pretty much everybody on my team, when I interview them, answer number one is, I want to protect my friends and my family. Right, that's why they join the team. Also, we all want community. Colonel Grossman said it, right? We are built to be in community with people. Show of hands, how many veterans do I have out there? Awesome. Thank you all for your service, right? The military does a great job of instilling in us a sense of community. They give us community. They give us a mission, a purpose, an identity, right? Those are core needs for every person. Unfortunately, what happens when you leave the military? Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Community goes bye-bye, sense of purpose goes bye-bye, all that goes bye-bye. We're creating this with a safety ministry, right? So now, our safety ministry has now become a de facto veterans ministry. It's become a de facto first responders ministry. All right, this is a great way to reach out to the veterans in your congregation. It's also a great way to reach out to people that just don't fit into the other ministries. I crack the joke all the time when I talk to people about our safety ministry. I can't teach, I can't preach, I can't sing, and I don't have enough patience to deal with kids other than my own, right? But I know very well how to put holes in bad guys and patch up holes in good guys, right? I'm a sheepdog. God made me a sheepdog. That's my calling. I'm here to protect, and you want me to protect, I'm going to do it with all my heart. And I know there's a lot of other people in here that feel the same way, and you probably have other people in your church that feel the same way, right? Everybody on my team. I've got members on my team that have been members of this church for a very long time and did not volunteer, did not get heavily involved until we developed a safety team. And as soon as we developed a safety team, we said, hey, we need people that are going to protect our church. Now those same people, I have to tell them, hey, go home. Hey, take a Sunday off, right? Because they're serving. They're elbows deep in this. They love this because now there's a place for them to fulfill their calling that God's put on their heart, right? So that's ministry value added with a safety ministry. Again, have processes for your team. Yes, this is a ministry. Yes, we want everybody that we can get, but it is not for everybody. All right, there will be people that may not be a good fit for your team, right? If somebody has a significant mental health background, this may not be the best place for them right now, We can, as a church, facilitate them getting help. We can give them some community, but putting a weapon in their hand or putting them in response of an emergency may not be the best thing right now, but we can work with them. You may not have a bunch of ninjas on your team or a bunch of ninjas that want to be a part of your team. You may have folks that just, maybe they're higher up in years. Colonel Grossman, you told me at the last conference, they're just they're old sheepdogs that want a second run at it. Right? Let's give them a second run. Let's find a spot for them. We may not put them in the parking lot on the front lines where they may have to chase somebody down. We may not put them in an area where they're going to have to run and respond or respond to an extremely high stress event. But I got some folks on my team that they're great at having fun with kids and checking name tags and checking guardian tags and make sure that the right kid's going with the right parent. That's safety ministry right there. And now they have a sense of community. They got a sense of purpose. Right? They have those needs being filled for them by our church and by our safety ministry. Find the right place for the person. Again, just more steps. Training and qualifications. Does your team train? Training. All right? We have a qualification process with our team. There's two reasons behind that. One, by having a training qualification process, I now know that everybody has the same baseline. I might have people that have a lot higher training or a lot more experience. I may have people coming in that have none, but now I know that everybody's on the same playing field, right? The qualification process is also kind of a rite of passage, right? So we have when you finish what we call boot camp and you've done all your shadow shifts, we have a qualification board, all right? And this is something that I borrowed from the fire service. Basically, you sit in front of our panel and we start popcorning questions, but the first thing we do is we make you tell us a joke. We want to see what kind of sense of humor you got. And if that joke's not funny enough, which it never is, we're going to make you dance. But there's a reason behind that, right? One, it's embarrassing. We like to laugh. Two, we want to see how thick your skin is and how seriously you take yourself. Because if your ego is too big to dance in front of a bunch of team members that also had to do it, this may not be the best place for you. Right? If your ego is that big, like I said, ego kills. There's no place for ego on a team like this. If you think you know it all, you think you're too good to dance in front of us, come back later, try again. All right, but that's all part of the process. Everybody on our teams had to do it. All right, don't ask me to dance right now because I got an injured back. That's my excuse. We proudly claim that our ministry is the land of misfit toys. All right, we take the people that didn't belong in any other ministry, and we have a lot of fun because we are all the misfit toys that didn't belong, but now we have our home, and we love it. Everybody's got strengths and weaknesses. You got to realize that. And so let's work to the strengths. Let's work to the weaknesses. Utilize people's strengths. We had I say kid, he was 20 at the time, that was trying to join our team. Very, very socially awkward. Very socially awkward, right? Spent a lot of time playing video games. Didn't talk to a lot of people. That's fine. But he came up to me one time and said, hey, I think I want to join the safety team. All right, man, come on. Let's train. Went to our boot camp. And I noticed when he was doing shadow shifts that, again, he was not very socially adept, but the kid had a photographic memory and was ADD as all get up. So you take somebody that's ADD and has a photographic memory and you put them in front of a screen that has the view of 65 cameras on it, that's a golden fit for that person right there. And so that was my goal, was to get him trained to be our operational command center, because the guy could remember everything from all those screens. It was incredible. Unfortunately, he ended up getting a job in Virginia and moved out there, but even now he still calls me up from time to time. His fiance visits our church and says, hey, Nathan misses the team, and that's lasting ministry just because we gave him a chance, right? I've talked about training. I can't hammer this home enough. Training is the cornerstone of any decent emergency response team. All right, if you're not training on a regular basis, like Colonel said, you're not going to rise to the occasion. You will default to the lowest level of your training. All right, so please train. You don't have to go full ninja on your training. Start with your basics. Everybody starts with fundamentals. right? So don't immediately go to the range with new members and have them, crawling through the mud and shooting on the move and multi-target engagements and multi-level engagements. And no, let's start with dry fire. How's your grip? How's your stance? How are your fundamentals? And then we move up from there. Same thing with CPR. Same thing with your medical stuff. We can't go straight to IVs and chest seals and thoracotomies and stuff like that. Hey, Band-Aids on boo-boos. All right, let's start really, really easy, and then let's build up from there. These are just a list of skills that your team should be training, that they should start working towards being proficient in. Again, you don't have to be ninjas in these, but you need to always be working on these things. And that includes ministry skills. Again, with a ministry mindset, if we're out in the parking lot and somebody comes that looks awkward, do we immediately want to kick them to the curb, or do we want to stop and, hey, can I talk with you? Tell me what's wrong. Tell me what's wrong. How can I help you? I'll do everything I can to help you, right? The de-escalation tactics that Colonel Grossman was talking about. Because maybe they just need a place, right? Maybe they are threatening, and we still welcome them in anyways. We just keep a real close eye on them. We had an incident this past weekend. We've got a bolo. There's a group of people that are trying to collect intel on churches around here. We have one guy that's positively identified, but he's part of a group. So we had somebody pull into the parking lot. Unfortunately, our parking lot cameras were down, and this guy pulls in. And when I'm in the parking lot, I typically will smile and wave at everybody that comes in. Hey, because that gives me some body language, right? They smile and wave back. All right, I can see that I recognize this person, and they're probably having a decent day. All right, if they look straight ahead and I can see it, their death grip of the wheel. They're probably running late, their kids pissed them off, whatever. They're not having a great day. Let's pray for that person. All right, let's hope they have a better day. If they purposely avoid eye contact with me, that's not a normal response. So this person purposely avoided eye contact, went around, circled around to come back and leave immediately. So using Chuck's term, I decided I was going to be aggressively friendly with them. So I pulled the golf cart up, blocked them in. I said, hey, welcome to Central. Glad you're here. How can I help you? He rolls his window down, and he's like, ¿hablas español? I was like, sí, un poquito, pero necesito practicar más. And immediately he was like, oh, this guy speaks Spanish. So I said, hey, why don't you park? I'll help you out. And so he goes and he parks, and I walk him into the sanctuary. I got more cameras in the foyer. This guy kind of met some of the cues of some of the people that were casing churches. So I was like, all right, I want a picture of this guy. Well, being aggressively friendly, we brought him in, showed him where the sanctuary was. He came in, took his camera out, turned around, and immediately left. All right, ministry mindset. Maybe we welcomed that guy in, and he just didn't feel comfortable because it was in English. Maybe that guy was up to no good. And he saw, man, they got security presence here, they got cameras, I'm not messing around here, right? But these are ministry skill sets that we need to be training as a team. And of course, Bible studies, you gotta be in the Word. You gotta be in the Word. You gotta be led by the Holy Spirit with your actions on this, doing security. Because the Holy Spirit's gonna give you some intuition that you wouldn't naturally have. The Holy Spirit's gonna put stuff on your heart that you wouldn't naturally have. Holy Spirit's going to tell you, hey, you need to pray for that person, not shoo them away. Or the Holy Spirit's going to tell you, hey, this person's up to no good. Watch them. And we've had incidents of both. This is a cycle that your team needs to be operating all the time. All the time. You operate, you have an incident, you learn from that incident, you refine your procedures from what you learned, you operate again, and we continue with that cycle. Again, there's no room for ego here. No room for ego. If you think you know it all and you have everything squared away, you're wrong. You can always be learning, always be getting better. Beware of team Dunning-Kruger effect. How many of you are familiar with the Dunning-Kruger effect? Only a couple? All right, Dunning-Kruger effect is basically somebody that, it's an effect that somebody has that they think they're better than they are. Right? Lots of people have this. They think they're better at something than they really truthfully are. This is something as a team you need to beware. All right? It's very easy to think, man, our team is squared away. We've got everything on lockdown. Nobody's getting in here. Ken Alexandro at the Bulletproof Pastor Worship Conference said he went to a church to do some consulting. That pastor said, hey, we're just here, we have you here for a formality. We've got one of the best safety teams around. We're locked on. There's no way anybody's getting in here. So Ken said, all right, well, I'm going to do a secret shopper thing. I'm going to see if I can get past your defenses. So he shows up on a Sunday, shows up in between services, right? That's probably our weakest zone because people are leaving, people are coming, there's a lot of traffic. It's really hard to keep track of everybody. So sure enough, he comes in while everybody's transiting. He follows somebody to the nursery. Their nursery's locked down. It's a maglock door. He waits for somebody to open it up. He's like, oh, my wife's in there. Sure enough, he follows them in. He's past layer 1. Goes to the nursery. There's a lady in there. He IDs her. She's got a crying baby in her hand. She's stressed out. And he's like, hey, I really need your help. My wife left our diaper bag in here. It's somewhere back there. It's black. It's got a red stripe. Will you go look for it? She's like, she's panicking a little bit. He's like, here, I'll hold the baby while you go look. She hands over the baby. So now she just gave the baby to a stranger. She's going to look for the diaper bag. Ken takes a selfie with the baby in his arms and sends it to the pastor and says, locked down, huh? Don't think you're better than you are. Again, no room for ego. You can always do better. You can always be more efficient. You can always have better processes. I can give you stories all day long about the impact that our safety ministry has had on the people within our team and throughout the church. In fact, while we were setting up for this conference, we've got a couple that comes and does our baptistry and sets it up for baptisms. And the lady comes up to me and she's like, "What's all this for?" And it's like, "Yeah, we're having a safety conference." And she's like, "You know what? You have no idea how freeing it is to be able to come to church, let my guard completely down, and worship with zero worry." She's like, "I have no worries if anything happens because you guys are around." And she's seen us in action, but she's like, "I can worship with so much freedom, more freedom than I ever had before because I know you guys are around." I had a police officer come up to us once, or come up to me once, and he's like, "Man, Mike, I appreciate you guys so much." He's like, "Everywhere I go in life, I got to be in condition red because everybody's looking at me as the police officer to help out." He's like, "With you guys watching my back, I can come to church and actually worship with my family knowing that you guys have my six and I don't have to be in condition red." That's ministry to our police officers, right? You want to back the police? That is one way to really do it, right? But within our own team, we've had team members that have gone through some hard times. And we as a team have gathered around them and prayed for them and provided for them. Not this June, but last June, one of our team members committed suicide. And that one kind of sucked. But the beautiful part was our team took care of his wife. We rallied around her and we told her, "Once you're safety team, you're always safety team. We're a family around here." So we had guys go and mow her lawn, fix her AC, take care of her house. We still do stuff for her because once you're safety team, you're always safety team, right? That's ministry within our team. That's what we look for in ministries in the church, right? We want that kind of outreach. We want that kind of love for each other, and you're going to find that in your safety ministry. You're going to grow that through training in your safety ministry. In the military and the fire service, we call it morale through mutual suffering. Right? You do stuff that's hard, you do stuff that's tough, you go through trials together, you come out the other side, and you're tighter than you've ever been. Right? That's part of the ministry impact of a safety ministry. All right, I probably went over half an hour, didn't I? All right. You were supposed to give me a cue, Alex. Thanks, man. All right, any questions? Got a couple of minutes. Any questions about how we do things here at Central or anything of that nature?
I have a question.
Sure.
How big is your congregation here on a given Sunday?
It's 500 people. On a given Sunday, we get 500 people. So not giant, kind of a good solid mid-size.
Do you have a story of dealing with a mental ill person?
Say again?
Do you have a story of how you had to deal with mental ill people?
Yes. Got a couple. I got to draw one. So we we had a guy come up. He actually got into our. It was a Wednesday night, and our youth activities are in the youth building where we had the simulator. We hadn't set up our security yet. I was here a little bit early. I was on cameras, and I see this guy walk into the youth building, talk to somebody, walk around, and he's trying to get into our doors. So I go over to him, and I go open the door. I was like, "Hey, how can I help you?" And he's like, "Yeah, do you have a sanctuary? Do you have a place where I can? Do you have holy water?" I'm like, "Well, we're not Catholic. We don't have holy water, but why don't you come in and we'll talk, and I'll pray with you." And he's like, "Yeah, I just need prayer. They've been following me and tracking me, and I'm scared for my life." And so I was like, "Well, okay, well, let's talk about this." So I bring him into the room just across the hallway, and so I'm talking to him, and he's talking about these witches and demons that have been following him, right? He's looking over my shoulder like there's one there. And so is there one there? He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Okay, well, how about this?" I was like, "How about I get your name? How about I get your contact information? That way our prayer team can pray for you by name and by contact information." Part of some of the stuff he was saying too, he's like, I'm so worried that these demons are telling me to kill somebody. Like these demons are wanting me to kill somebody, and I just don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. So immediately, the red flags are going up. Like, this guy's seeing things that aren't there. They're telling him to kill somebody. So I'm like, all right, well, let me get your information. My prayer team's going to get you. Can I pray for you right now? And so I prayed for him, and he was immediately like, "Man, I feel better." I was like, "Awesome, man. Well, here, why don't you have a nice day?" I was like, we've got some Bible studies and stuff going on. I was like, no, I'm okay. I was like, "All right, man. So, well, like I said, we've got your contact information. We'll be praying for you. And if you need more prayer, man, just, here's my number." I gave him my number, or I gave him the church number with the safety lines. Like, just, give me a call. And so we haven't seen him since. But that was one that we dealt with. And we ended up creating what we call a bolo for that. And so that's something that I've partnered with some other churches that we have kind of a bolo system. That's another thing for your church ministry. Partner up with other churches. You need to gather your own intel, right? Intelligence is huge. And one intel product that I use a lot, JD, I just saw you come in, that's why I'm throwing this out there. Talk to JD over at Concilium. Concilium Insight Digest is a monthly product that JD and his team put out of church violence incidents that happen every month. If you're a church leader in here, or your church leadership does not think that this happens at churches on a regular basis, violence, go read Concilium Insight Digest. There's at least 1 or 2 shootings a month, and that's just with open source reporting. There's assaults, there's arson, there's all kinds of things. These things happen every single month. Concilium's a great product for that. But also talk to the churches within your community and share intel. So Round Rock, First Baptist Round Rock, I shared my bolos with you guys. They share theirs with us. We have a great relationship. But I'm going to be here afterwards too. If you guys want to stick around and kind of see our facilities, how we do things, all that, I'll lead a little bit of a tour. If you have more questions, I'll answer questions. You guys have my contact information. But again, thank you all so much for coming to our conference. I'm going to turn it over to Chuck, and Chuck's going to close us out.